everyone. Welcome back to Ignite You. I'm so happy that you came and stopped by and just came in to join me today. I'm so excited because I have a good friend of mine who is joining us today on this episode for financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and all of those good things. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to, you can say your name.
Cory Jack.
Cory Jack. Yes, he's a good friend of my husband and I's, and I'm just excited about our conversation today. But first, it wouldn't be smart of me to not introduce him properly. So I would like to read his bio first, and then we can get started with questions. So Cory Jack is the owner and principal consultant of Jack Associates LLC, a consulting firm that specializes in assisting entrepreneurs with forming, managing, and growing their enterprise. Cory has worked with early and mid-stage businesses owners throughout the country, helping to cultivate and grow their ideas into valuable businesses within their respective markets. He is also the founder and CEO of Legacy Institute for Economic Attainment, a nonprofit organization that teaches financial literacy and entrepreneurship to youth and young adults across the state of Louisiana. Cory is the 2024 African American Heritage Foundation honoree. Clap, clap, clap if I had the little things. 2023 AP Magazine Face of Business Consulting honoree, 2022 Junior Achievement of Acadiana's Friend of Business honoree, 2020 SBA Louisiana Minority Business Champion of the Year. Sorry, my eyes are crossed. 2020 Acadiana Profile Magazine Business Trailblazer of the Year. 2016 Acadiana Top 20 Under 40 honoree, and a graduate of Leadership Lafayette Class 31. Cory holds a Bachelor of Science in Psychology from UL Lafayette and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Phoenix. Cory sits on the board of Ochsner Lafayette General, One Acadiana, SLCC Foundation, Goodwill of Acadiana, and the Louisiana Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Whew, man, that is phenomenal. Hats off to you for that, for all of those accomplishments. I mean, how do you feel just hearing that when people read your bio?
Right.
How does it make you feel?
Tired. It reminds you of, when you get caught in the day-to-day of it all, sometimes you lose sight of all that you do or that falls under your purview. So they read it out at the African American Heritage Gala a few weeks ago, and it was same feeling hearing all of that said at one time.
And it's just a good feeling just knowing that although you said you're tired or busy, it's still good to hear all of the things that you have done thus far. So hats off to you for all of those accomplishments. Can you tell me your journey? How was your journey studying psychology to becoming a successful entrepreneur and consultant?
Sure. So it's quite the interesting story how those two things tied together, because anyone who knows me deeply knows that psychology is my first love. Business is my second. But growing up in Mamou, Louisiana, very, very small town, about an hour north of here, I always had a fascination with the human mind and how it works. Why do we think the way that we think? Things like that. My school, high school, did not offer psychology classes. Neither did it offer business classes. So I would go to the library and research psychology and the human mind, even just as a teenager.
Wow.
So when I graduated from Mamou High School, I decided to move to Lafayette to attend UL. So I was an 18-year-old. I got my undergrad in psychology to learn more deeply how the human mind works. So while I was in college, living on campus, I worked retail. So I worked at Circuit City, I worked at Best Buy, and ultimately at AT&T. So I was using what I learned in psychology to sell more of their products. So sell more TVs at Best Buy. I was using psychology to sell more cell phones at AT&T. So I'm like, okay, understanding the human mind can help increase sales because of the interactions with clients. It's just a skill that you sharpen. And while I was doing that, getting my undergrad in psychology, I was like, well, wait a minute. I can develop my own product or service use this psychology to build my own brand and build the customer base around my own product or service.
Wow.
So I then decided to, after graduating with psychology, instead of pursuing psychology further as a counselor or anything like that, or a licensed clinician, I decided to go back and get my master's in business administration to combine what I learned with psychology with,
Wow.
but also to increase my business acumen from an educational and academic standpoint. So that's sort of how I use psychology and business, and that's sort of how it was birthed.
But I love that because, sometimes we're in a field and we're going a certain way, and sometimes we think that's the way to go. And I love that you were able to recognize, hey, yes, psychology is important to me, but you navigated it through something that you're even much more passionate about, which is your business that you have now.
Absolutely. And the great thing about it is the psychology is used in everything.
Everything that we do, yes.
Not just the business, is used in the nonprofit, is used in my relationships with family members and friends. It's used everywhere.
Everywhere.
But because I sharpen that particular skill, of course, I zone in on it in the business aspect.
Love that. Okay, well, that's giving me a little tip or two for my own. What inspired you to start Jack Associates LLC, and what sets your consulting firm apart from others?
So what inspired me to start it was that strong psychology component, because working in retail all those years, it taught me a thing or two about customer service. I also had to basically take whatever product it is that they wanted us to sell and learn about it to where I can convey its value to the customer. Even products I didn't care that much about, but I had to do it because it was a part of my job, and I was making other companies money. So I'm like, okay, I'm using all this information I learned both from psychology, but also in the training that we have to do to sell their products. I need to find something I'm passionate about so I can put this much energy and effort into selling something that I can create. Now, truth be told, I didn't know what that was because I was experiencing this in like 2013, and there was no one product or service that I knew to sell.
Yeah.
So I actually used what I learned to create a nonprofit first.
Wow, okay.
So I launched the nonprofit first in 2014. However, Jack Associates came in 2017, although I had been helping business owners since 2012 in my previous roles. So that's really how it was birthed. But whenever I started with the nonprofit first, I didn't have a product or service, but I knew I had a passion to empower the youth.
Right.
I wanted to give them something that I never got.
Wow.
So I created the nonprofit first. And then once it started being successful, people started reaching out to me to help them create their nonprofits.
That's right. And I'm one of them. So I remember, like, what do I need to do to get this dream rolling and helping young girls? So thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But then once people started coming to me to help them set up their nonprofit, I'm like, that's the business.
That's it.
It's consulting.
Yeah.
So I like to study processes. So once I learn to do something, I document it.
Okay.
I document it thoroughly. That way, when someone else needs it, I have step by step how to do it.
Right.
So I started the consulting company from the influx of people coming in asking me how to start a nonprofit. So I then started doing the same thing with people wanting to start businesses, LLCs, corporations. Okay. That was a lot of good information I learned from getting an MBA, but the in the field experience I got from those business structures and entities, that's how the consulting business Jack Associates was birthed.
Wow. Whew. As the founder and CEO of Legacy Institute for Economic Attainment, what motivated you to focus on teaching financial literacy and entrepreneurship? I know you said a while ago that you started because it's something that you never had growing up. Can you touch a little deeper on that?
Sure. So, of course, Jack Associates is my for-profit business consulting business. Legacy Institute for Economic Attainment, of course, is my nonprofit. That's where my passion is. Jack Associates is my passion too, but the work of the Legacy Institute is different.
Yes.
That's not about a paycheck. That whenever I conduct programming and empower our youth, I feel fulfilled.
Right.
And that's something that a paycheck can't quite give you.
Give you.
So The Legacy Institute, as you mentioned, came about because all the stuff that the organization teaches, I did not learn when I was a teenager. I come from a very small town, and I love the small town I'm from. It's just it doesn't have that many resources like this there.
Right.
Financial literacy, that no, that there was no junior achievement of Acadiana in Mamu. There's nothing like that.
Right.
Banks didn't come into the school to conduct programming. And lastly, that entrepreneurship piece. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit in me. Even as a kid, I was always making stuff.
Something.
But there was nothing to nurture that in my early years. So once I came here to Lafayette and I started learning, I just had a desire to pour into people that resembled the younger version of me.
Wow.
And to give them what I never had. And that goes beyond entrepreneurship and financial literacy. That goes way beyond. I guess this is more so some beyond comfort zone stuff that we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes.
But pour into stuff outside of just business and financial literacy, although that's what this organization is designed to do. But I basically created something where I can pour into young people that remind me of the younger version of me and give them what I never got. And in many ways, in doing that, it fills my cup from what I felt was empty from my younger days. So not only are they benefiting from it, it benefits me as well. The Legacy Institute started out very small.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about Saturday mornings for an hour, teaching students something on a PowerPoint in one of the rooms you rent out in the library, like just me and a few other people. That was very small, but I had a vision. Now this thing is growing.
Taking off so much.
So much so I had to empower a team, and I'm still in the process of doing that statewide.
Wow.
Because the vision is growing. And I'm a big believer of, don't ask don't have a large vision if you're not willing to build the infrastructure to accommodate the growth of what you're asking for.
Right.
And in doing that, I had to evolve as a person.
I love that.
And there are some things about me personally and some preferences of how I do things. I had to explore other options. I had to evolve beyond that and open this thing up to bring on new people, to have my ideas challenged while sticking true to the purpose and the vision, but to be flexible in certain areas where I was a little too stubborn in that prevented growth.
Right.
Once that happened, the resources and the people are flooding in to support the vision, and it's growing, and we're able to have a bigger reach, bigger impact.
I am so proud. Like this is, and like you said, how it started, I kind of watched from the outside looking in, and I saw your passion. I saw you out there at schools giving workshops. I mean, you've done it consistently, which drove me to wanting to start mine and helping me with that. And it's just good to see that, like you said, you made space to grow. You now have capacity. And so you can't have a large vision without working on that inner man, sometimes that's stubborn or pulls back or is afraid. Fear sometimes stops us. And that's what we'll talk about as well, like death to comfort zones. And also, I think it's smart. For instance, I started my organization, but I stopped it because I knew at the time in my life, I didn't have the capacity to keep going. And instead of me keep trying to go and just continue moving forward, I just pulled back and I said, whenever the right time will be, I'll start it again. And so I think that's important because sometimes we do things out of like obligation, like I have to do this because I started it. But for me, I had to pull back in order to see what ways can I actually be effective? Like in what ways can I revamp my own life in order to be effective when I come back? So it's just inspiring to see your consistency and how the growth has happened and the lives that you've, touched.
Look, just to add on to that, for many of these things, I know we're speaking about entrepreneurship right now, but for many other things, it's a journey. It doesn't always look like this. So like some people know this, but like the Legacy Institute, it's growing now, but it's actually the second nonprofit. The first one.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The first one. You can't appreciate what Legacy Institute is becoming without first knowing about the Youth Literacy Foundation. That was the one I started in 2013. but I ended it in 2017 because life was lifing.
Life was like
There was a lot to figure out. Like I was deploying too much personal capital to it, and it was losing money. There was a lot going on, so I had to pause it. But that doesn't mean that it went away forever. Everything that I'd done in those 4 years, all the schools I went into, all the collateral I was able to build, all of that information, all that knowledge, whenever Legacy got relaunched 2.5 years later, for branding purposes, it was renamed as a separate entity, but the essence of what it is still the essence of what the Youth Literacy Foundation was. This is the Youth Literacy Foundation evolved into something new with a much better me, a much more mature me, a much older me, a much smarter, more strategic me. It's the essence of what began, but it's rebirthed and evolved from that, because it wouldn't be this if I didn't have that first entity that I struggled with. So it's all part
a journey,
of it.
like
You
you
just
said.
have to brand it accordingly. That we're still,
Yes.
strategically.
Strategic.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I love that. So how do you anticipate oh wait, I'm sorry. What with your numerous accolades and recognitions, which achievement are you most proud of?
It's easily Legacy Institute, the nonprofit. Like I said, Jack and Associates is growing. It's growing so much to where it's like sometimes I have to look back and be like, how is this happening? Like I need to expand now.
Yes.
Because you can't ask to be blessed and not figure out how to expand and make it doable and feasible. And that's good. That brings in money. Like you all want that, right? Especially like the type of life I want to live. However, though, Legacy Institute, empowering youth and young adults and families in our communities. You just the fulfillment. Like I feel like that's the work. That's the work, because have I made it in life where I want to be? No, not yet.
Right.
But the ability to take what I've learned thus far and to pour into others, that's the biggest. That's the biggest
purpose.
accomplishment by
Yeah.
far. And thinking about things like imposter syndrome, like who am I to be able to help other people? I'm from a small town, single parent household. Who am I? I've finally gotten to a point in my life where I am
Done
past
with that. Me too. I know what you mean.
I'm no
Yeah.
longer questioning myself
Right.
about am I enough, or I didn't
Right.
have this straight. I'm
That's
past
over.
that.
Those days are long gone.
Those are- now-
behind.
That's an accomplishment in and of itself to say that, because if we're having this conversation just 2 years ago, 3 years, we've been knowing each other for a
Right.
long time
Yes.
now, right?
Yeah.
You can probably see the evolution of my mind
Of course,
frame.
yeah.
It's gotten to a point to where the work is too imminent. There's no more time to be doubting ourselves.
It's just
Yes.
we don't have capacity for it. We don't have. I mean, if it's either go or it's
Right.
just sit and just stay complacent, and it's not to sound arrogant, but you deserve to be in this space. I mean, you've put in the work, you work hard, and you belong here. So just seeing that and seeing how it's unfolding, it wouldn't have unfolded like it has if you didn't know that. If you didn't take up your space and
Right.
be okay with that. That you're chosen. I mean, that's just what it is. And what about how do you anticipate the expansion? I know you mentioned about growing, and it's just, what is your greatest anticipation right now?
Sure. So, like I said, both Jack and Associates and Legacy is growing. I think with Legacy Institute, the nonprofit, something great is happening right now, because for the most part, it's been me and a few others throughout the years, but now I have a team. I didn't anticipate this because, first of all, I'm not new to the nonprofit space. I help people start nonprofits all over the country. I serve on several nonprofit boards locally and statewide. And I've been running my own, so I'm not new to the space, but it's different being on a board, but then actually being the founder of one and leading its growth. So I was thinking, I'm like, this is my vision. I don't know if people would come along and to build it. I was like, I don't know. So it's like, I always held it so closely because I was like, why would somebody want to come and support my baby?
Right.
But then something started happening. People started coming in and lending their support because they seen the work that was being done.
Yeah.
And it was igniting something in them as well. So I'm the type, Of course, I like people to volunteer, but I like to pay people their worth.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to bring people in so soon because the organization didn't have money at that time to pay people to come in. But people wanted to come in anyway and help because they believed in the work and they seen the
That's
impacts.
right.
They authentically wanted to be a part
Part of
of
it.
that. So I allowed them to come in because I'm like, wow, you want to support this and to get past some of the imposter syndrome. And then because of their support, then we started attracting the funders and the banks and all that because I was able to grow my
Grow it.
capacity. When money started coming in, then I was able to pay those people that came along to support
right.
the vision. And then all of a sudden I had to start looking at things differently. Yeah, it's my vision, but nonetheless, it's a vision that's impactful and it's bigger than me just applying the word "my" in front of it.
Right.
There's a quote that I really love that puts me in the right headspace. It says that if your vision can be accomplished by yourself, it's too small.
Oh, wow. Can you say that again for the listeners, please?
If you can accomplish your vision on your own, it's too
It's too
small.
small, guys. Oh,
So
wow. You need a team. You need
you need a
support.
team, you need capacity. So
Yeah.
once I started to understand that, the running around saying my vision.
Yeah.
No, I birthed it, but this thing is larger than me.
Love it.
It's larger than me. It's about impact. It's about how many lives we can possibly impact. And if that's truly the goal and truly the mission, like Cory Jack can't execute that.
Right.
I birthed it, but just like birthing a child, you bring in the pediatrician and the nanny and the nurse. You birth the baby, but it takes a team to bring it up and to rear it. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to bring a vision to a place to where it's impactful and can reach.
Wow, that is, whew, that was awesome. I mean, this is my last question to you, but we're gonna touch deeper into it because I know we mentioned it before. What inspired your Death to Comfort Zone venture, and how do you motivate others to step out of their comfort zones?
Absolutely. So that one, so death to comfort zones is a phrase that I trademarked, and my company Beyond Comfort Zones holds that trademark. So I started using that phrase like in 2017 as a hashtag after my post on Facebook, and it started catching on. So the death to comfort zones movement, that was one of those things where I was preaching to the choir, but I was preaching to myself.
Yeah.
That self-doubt and that insecurity, I knew I needed to drive that out of me to accomplish what it is I wanted to accomplish. So I did what a lot of people do. I start telling other people to overcome what I was struggling with. Trying to position myself as an expert. No, I'm struggling with this currently, but I'm going to tell you to overcome it. But I'm really talking to myself.
Oh, don't we all do that? It's so funny.
But because of that, and because I was struggling with that reassurance, that self-confidence, and overcoming the imposter syndrome, that's why the venture kind of went up and down because I was still very much,
figuring it out.
Now in a much better position to actually carry that out now because I've overcome a lot of that. So Death to Comfort Zone is about getting people to step outside of their comfort zones so that they can evolve in the areas they need to bring some of their visions and their goals and their initiatives into fruition. Because, regardless of what the venture is, especially in entrepreneurship, a lot of time you hear that your business is ultimately an extension of yourself. So it will mirror your risk tolerance. It sometimes mirrors your personality. It mirrors all of that.
Wow.
So if you want it to go to certain places or evolve to certain places, you have to evolve into certain places.
Wow.
So Death to Comfort Zones isn't just about entrepreneurship. It's about everything. It's about insecurities we have in several different areas, right? So I've been researching like imposter syndrome. I've been researching some of the things that cause like self-doubt, even those things that are culturally connected. So basically, we have all this material now to start talking about, and I'm bringing in other people who have a lot of information in that field to give out positive, motivational content to help people.
I'm looking forward to that for
get
sure.
out of their own heads. Right?
Yes, we have to. And it's so much so to where whenever you're feeling like self-doubt, it kind of cripples you.
Right.
It just literally stops you in your tracks and you can't move forward.
Right.
So what advice would you just give someone listening today that is probably just in a place where they have a dream, they have a drive, they have a passion, but they don't know how to ignite. They don't know how to just let
Right.
that flame consume them and
Right.
just move forward and thrive in life. What would you say to them?
Man, so many things. First of all, at
Yeah.
some point, you just have to start.
Yeah.
You just have to
I
start.
hear that a lot. Yes.
And nobody said you have to feel super confident when you start.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're scared. You do it scared anyway. And I find out a lot of people that want to do something that they're hesitant about, inside they question, what qualifies me for
Right.
this? But a lot of us, if we're honest with ourselves, there's people around us that have told us, you're different about this. Like you have a talent or you have this skill set, but we dismiss it because we think it's nothing. But the thing about like imposter syndrome and a couple of other things is that because whatever we're super talented in, it's so normal to us
Right.
that we think this is a normal skill or a normal talent or a normal idea that anybody can do this.
Right.
They can't.
Right.
That's why they're big upping you about it. Like, oh my God, you're great at this.
And you're like, this is what I do. Just
Because it's normal.
yeah.
So if something comes normal to us, we discredit it as like anybody can do it, and that we're an imposter because anybody can truly do it.
Yeah.
But when other people that are close to you are telling you no, like you're talented in this particular area. There's another quote that I like that said, or a famous person said this. I will know my life changed when I agreed to no longer let other people see more in me than I see in myself. Who am I to sit here talking about I can't do it when everybody
in the
is?
face with that one. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah.
Say that again, because guys, I'm gonna be 100 with you. I still deal with imposter syndrome. I mean, I'm not saying it proudly, but it is something I battle with slightly.
Right.
It's not as heightened as it was when we last spoke, but which was about 2-3 years ago. But it still kind of creeps up every now and then in certain settings.
Right.
But that just
Yeah.
hit home for me. And say it one more time, just one more time.
Yeah, no longer allow other people to see more in you than you see in yourself. So, yeah.
Had
This
to
is
look
good-
at the
it's
camera
good
with
stuff.
that one. Yes.
Right. And you see, imposter syndrome, we take a new twist in it because honestly, when imposter syndrome was first introduced as a term several decades ago, the population of folks that it was studied on was not the type of folks that listen to this content now. It was actually studied on very successful people, right?
Okay.
But now we use that information that's going to help us. It's geared to help people who something internally is stopping them from reaching that
Right.
next level. But because we're still in a society where there are some systemic things that hold a lot of us down that need to be corrected. Right? So
Absolutely.
sometimes we struggle to get to the next level. It is because of some systemic issues,
Yes,
and
yes.
classism and things like that. But there are some things internally
Mm-hmm.
that hold us back. And it's geared towards people that need to work on themselves. Right. Even though
Right.
there's still a greater fight to overcome systems that hold
equality. Yes,
equality that
yes,
hold us
yes. Mm-hmm.
down. So those are two different conversations. But nonetheless, this is geared towards people that need to have a slightly different mindset about their own abilities.
About their own abilities. Wow. Well, this episode has me in a chokehold. It was amazing. It was amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. How can people that are listening follow your journey, stay connected to what you have going on, and even support your organization? Can you let them know?
Sure. So a couple different ways. So social media is a very, very good way. But for everything I discussed, there's a website attached to it. So on the entrepreneurship end, there's Jack Associates, which you can go to jackandassociates.com. You can go to the Jack Associates webpage. Also for Legacy Institute, we'd love if you support that.
Yes.
We have a website, legacyinstituteinc.org. Also very active on the Legacy Institute for Economic Development's Facebook page. And you just follow my personal Facebook page. That's where I post the most, on my personal Facebook page. And as far as the Death to Comfort Zones content, that will be coming out shortly.
That's going to be coming out shortly. So be on the lookout. Please support Cory Jack. He's doing amazing. I'm sure you know that just from this episode, but keep in touch because it's more greatness to come. And so what I say at the end of every episode is just a little encouragement for everyone. And that is everyone has a spark that can turn into a flame if you ignite it. So please just believe in yourself. He is an example of someone who had the odds against him, but still triumphed over it. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Bye.